Good afternoon, David.
Afternoon, how you doing?
Not bad yourself.
All right. Yeah, but the eye's still a bit sore, as you can probably see. It's this one here. It's still sort of half closed, but it's all right. I'm getting there.
Thank you, Mr. Rees. That was very generous of you to open the programme.
Yes,
Just get
exactly.
Facebook on board.
And I'm really sorry to all concerned that I missed last Thursday's broadcast. I just couldn't. Yeah, my face was awash with tears, as it were, from this eye. I couldn't see. Just couldn't open my eyes to do anything. So yeah.
Now, considering this programme only requires you to open your fucking gob, don't be doing it again, alright? Right, that's Facebook on board. Let's see who's in. Hi, Alice. Hi,
Don't
Sam.
don't give me any more of your grumpy old bastard nonsense.
Here's
You
our
are a
Robert
grumpy old bastard in this world. You
You're my
can't.
friend.
I'm not being a grumpy old bastard.
Hi, Lorna. Hi, Jim. Robert, your grumpy old git. Hi, Robert Bruce. Hi, Mark Telford. Alistair. Lynn. So, who else we got? Come back down again.
And
Didn't
you
get any Facebookers on board yet. First of the Facebookers in, Tina up in Dundee. Hi, Tina. Numbers are climbing nicely, David. Right, folks, David's going on holiday on the 19th, is it?
Oh, don't tell everybody, right? They don't want to come with me.
I need to tell them that there have been any afternoon programmes that week, and if they didn't want to come with you, I'll have no fucking audience anyway, would they?
I packed my bucket and spade. That's the main thing.
That's it. Bucket and spade. Get your parrot ready for your shooter peg leg.
Pieces of eight.
David the pirate, off to Spain.
I think, guys.
David,
Goodness, I should actually bring up that Joey Vegas.
Hi, John.
And actually say to him, Cheeky monkey. Yeah.
Right, let's go on with this. The Two Davies on the 2nd of the 6th, 2025. And of course, David, big by-election this week.
Yes.
An extremely big by-election this week. And of course, Starmer and Farage are in Scotland, aren't they?
Yeah.
Starmer's here tub thumping. And of course, Farage is in Aberdeen welcoming a Tory councillor across the floor into his party, a certain Duncan Massey.
Well, I think it's a case of who can possibly tell the most lies in the shortest possible time.
Oh, I think Starmer won the day.
Yeah.
I think he's won the day, but we'll get to the defence review later.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that by-election is local polling shows that the SNP are still out in front, but Reform's overtook Labour. And Reform is now expected to come second in that by-election.
Yeah. That means, consequently, a lot of people are being driven on to vote for. You think yourself, my goodness me, do these people realise what they're doing? Do they realise what the mess they're going to leave Scotland in? They do that because winning this one election for Reform will open the floodgates. Seriously.
Aye. What do you call it? Nigel's already calling it the Tartan bounce for Reform.
Yeah, that's right.
But
this
one's going to be quite close. But talking to people who have been out on the doorstep, like Anne and the audience and that, they say that the local people are talking about SNP for this one, you know. So we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Now, Katie Loudon, need your finger out there. But as I say, the SNP have been hitting the ground heavy with activists
Yeah, but this is the point I keep making with people, not on here, people online that talk about vote in Alba or whatever, right? Vote SNP, vote SNP, and get SNP in the frame all the time at the very very front.
Mm-hmm.
If at the end of the day we get independence, then you can have as many different parties as you can imagine. I might start 5 all by myself. Just yeah, so there you go, right? And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is getting SNP through.
Well, thing is, this by-election is going to be really, really telling. If the SNP won this one with a comfortable majority, it shows that the Reform splitting the Unionist vote.
Well, okay, yeah, I can hear what you're saying, but if Reform comes second, it means we've got a problem in future.
Yes, we'll get a problem next year,
Aye.
2026.
That's right.
We could end up with some real fascists
Well,
in our
this is
parliament.
what I was trying to explain to people is that Swinney talks about taking on reform, all the rest of it, right? But he's not prepared to bring out, let's have an independence campaign. We're going to have an independence campaign and it's going to be fruitful because what's going to happen is we're going to declare independence at the end of it if we get all the votes in 2026, right? Dead simple. If he doesn't do that, he may win the battle in 2026, sorry, right? But he could lose the war in 2029. And you could have a situation where Farage and Reform are the UK government. And then we have got a problem in Scotland. Got a real problem. Because he will shut down Holyrood.
He will.
It's very, very difficult.
He was talking about the day doing away with Barnett form also.
Yeah. Sorry if I misled people there. 2026 next year is a Scottish election. 2029 is the one I'm on about. 2029 is one that where Swinney might end up losing the war.
Julie, eating trifle's a good reason to be late. Not. Get a fucking naughty step. Eating trifle. Naughty step.
Plus the fact that's full of sugar. And I stand 4 square against any sugar intake.
Oh, shut up, you. You eat as much trifle as you want, Julie.
You will not do that. Send the shoulder. The little angel.
Christ, I'd be late for my own show if I had a bloody trifle.
Don't eat sugar.
Right, so we know that Farage wants to shut the Scottish Parliament. He said the day we would have Barnett formula. Well, if you've not got a Scottish Parliament, you don't need a fucking Barnett formula. So that covers number 3 and number 1 altogether.
Yeah.
Right. UK and Scottish government go to war over a 2.5 million grant that Rolls-Royce want to open a specialist welding plant to train welders to make nuclear submarines in Glasgow. Now, the Defence Secretary down that road has said that the Scottish Government are playing student politics by no giving Rolls-Royce 2.5 million a year grant. The Scottish Government, David, you and I know the SNP especially, it's been a long-term party issue. We won't supply public money for making arms.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
But besides all of that, most important thing is Holyrood do not control defence.
Yes.
Defence is reserved to Westminster.
Yes.
If Westminster decide they want to spend money on a particular setting up this, setting up that, right, then let them carry on. But in no circumstances should the SNP, should the Scottish Government be handing over one farthing piece towards this. Simple as that.
Aye, well, that's true. I agree. Now, what the John Healy, the Defence Secretary down that road, has said is that if the Scottish Government and Scottish Enterprise won't give Rolls-Royce that 2.5 million, then they will give Rolls-Royce that 2.5 million. Well, fucking go ahead and give Rolls-Royce 2.5 million.
Yeah.
The SNP have got a long-standing policy. We don't spend public money on munitions. We will give munitions companies money to divert away from munitions.
But besides that, it's a reserved issue.
Yes, it is a reserved issue.
Right? Simple as that. Being a reserved issue, we don't get involved. Simple as that.
Yep.
And somebody in the SNP had better go on a fucking TV or whatever and say exactly those words. Sorry, we've been asked to put up $2.5 million for a reserved issue, which is to do this for Rolls-Royce or Paisley or whatever, right? And at the end of the day, it's a reserved issue. We can't.
Anyway, what they're saying is that the SNP don't give a fuck about the industrial future of Scotland because we won't give money to munitions factories. We'll hear a wee bit more about munitions factories when we get to the defence review later on.
Yes.
But they've got a fucking cheek asking us to give money out of our ministerial budget, what little fucking pocket money comes up the road, and they want us to give it to weapons manufacturers. They can fuck off. They should say, David, it's reserved.
That's right.
There's nonsense that there's going to have to be deep cuts to the Scottish budget. You know, I would say that you just fucking spend it and send the bill down the road.
It's just politicking. Can you sit up in your chair? Probably you look as if you're going to disappear off the bottom of the screen.
There you go, I'll pump my fucking chair if I want, old man.
We have to stop politicking in a proper way, and it would take nothing for the SNP to go, do you want a bite, a sound bite for any of the TV stations, ITV, BBC, whatever, right? And simply say, look, sorry, we cannot give money to a defence project because it is a reserve issue. We're not allowed to. That's the way to put it.
No, they are allowed to.
No.
Just Scottish Enterprise money to Rolls-Royce.
David, as far as I'm concerned, why have something called reserved if you're allowed to do it?
I wouldn't blow my arse with it. They say, you know how I feel on that Parliament along there trying to take responsibility for things that they were not responsible for. The only way to show the democratic deficit is to show your lack of fucking power. Not you kid on, you have control of things like the economy and that when you don't.
You don't. Jen, look, sorry, darling, you're putting something like that, cut and paste. It's too much. I can't read that.
She's just saying that we should be asking Sinn Féin for advice on how to battle Westminster. Yeah.
Right, anyway.
It's a big comment, Jen. There's no chance we're going to be able to read that out.
Definitely not during a broadcast.
As you say, David, it is just politicking.
Yeah.
Defence is a reserved matter. Right, let's move on. Seoul Convention makes a comeback as a Scottish Parliament gives approval for UK-wide tobacco ban for those for all born after 2009. So the idea is that anybody after 2009 will never be legally allowed to buy tobacco, so the tobacco industry will come to an end.
Right.
Question
here first. Question to you.
Yeah.
Who was it suggested this?
It's a UK-wide piece of legislation, but with the reset with Labour, let me finish. The reset with Labour, apparently, at the beginning of their administration, they said that they would go back to the old way of doing things and reinstate the Seoul Convention. So they would come to the devolved parliaments and ask for their permission to bring in legislation UK-wide.
Right, so your simple answer is, in Holyrood, it was Anna Sawar and his mates that said, we're going to suggest that you ban smoking in Scotland.
No.
Right? No. Let me have this minute. All right, okay. Consequently, Swinney and his mob go, that's a good idea. That's on about the health of the nation and all the rest of it. Let's go for that. What a fucking can of worms. I stopped smoking. I stopped smoking because I was coughing up blood. There you are. End of story. I had a good reason, right? You haven't stopped smoking. You know, you're a cough and all the rest of it. As soon as you got the all clear, it was back to puffing again, right? Many people smoke in this country. What do you think it's going to do to any party that is the party of government in Scotland if they ban smoking?
They're talking about for kids born after 2009. This was Rishi Sunak's idea. Labour took it on. Now, the smoking ban for anybody born from 2009 onwards means that anybody born from 2009 onwards will not be able to legally be able to buy tobacco products. The rest of us who already smoke will still be able to get tobacco products.
Right. So as a side issue, what have you just created by doing that?
A
black market.
You'll all create a black market for selling fags to kids, right?
The moment you ban some contraband, that's it. It's like you create a black market, right?
Yes.
So
yes, definitely. Now, but as I say, the Sewell Convention has made a comeback. I wonder how long it will be before Labour decide to break the Sewell Convention.
Correct.
I wonder how long the reset will sit for. You know,
playing fucking politics again. That's what they're doing, right? Seriously. Come on, guys. Everybody must be able to see it the same as I do. This is another political gesture by an idiotic party that doesn't deserve to have any kind of power whatsoever.
Well, this idea was Rishi Sunak's, as I say. Labour decided to keep it. It's now been put out to the devolved administrations. The Scottish administrations approved it. I imagine the Welsh administration will approve it too. And it will come to pass into legislation that any kid born after 2009 won't be sold tobacco products. And an attempt to bring smoking to an end in the future.
And they will.
In the legislation also they're looking at the packaging of vapes and regulating of vapes.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, vapes come in all sorts of colours and sizes and wonderful flavours.
Right, yeah.
So they're talking about doing the same with vapes as what they did with fags, put them on point packets.
Yeah.
And
so what does a 20 bag get you?
I don't know. 20 bag of vapes? I don't know. I don't smoke
20
vapes.
20 bag of fags, 20 bag, whatever. You know.
So the interesting thing about it was they went and asked the Scottish Parliament for its permission. It was all part of this so-called reset when Labour came to power. We just wonder how long it will last. You know,
yeah.
When will Labour's Section 35 moment be? That's the question.
Labour do not want to help anybody in Scotland. They merely, purely and simply want to demoralise the SNP in the eyes of the Scottish public. That's it. End of story.
They also want to undermine the Scottish Parliament, of course, but they don't want to be so blatant about it as what Farage has been.
As far as I'm concerned, that's blatant. That is blatant.
Resetting to where we were before the Tories come in.
You can imagine whatever it is you want, right? But seeing a situation like that, playing politics is what they're doing.
I'm not imagining anything here. I'm just reporting on the fact that Labour's reset means the Sewell Convention's supposed to be back.
They're looking to lead John Swinney into a situation where he goes, yeah, that's a good idea, we'll go for that.
He did. The whole Parliament went for it. Banning smoking for people born from 2009.
No, they're arguing for a particular move, not for an individual thing up with the cut smoking for people in Scotland.
But you've got me confused, David. What they've done is reset relationships allegedly back to where it was before the Tory party ripped up the Sewell Convention.
Yeah, you talking about, right?
Aye.
What I'm talking about individually is the moment that you, as if you were the SNP, Scottish Government, and you brought in something that said, right, we're going to ban smoking for people born after 2009, or born before 2009, after 2009, then you'll end up with a lot of people against you that weren't against you. Something like that. Yeah?
I don't get it, David. I really don't get it.
This is something
the SNP are not introducing any legislation. It's Westminster.
Hold on. Fair enough. It's not enough to hold up this important programme what we've got later on. You and I will debate this later, and we'll come back to the people with their answer. All right?
I just don't understand where you're coming from. I really don't.
Okay, that's good. All right.
This political move, resetting things to how it was before the Tories came to power, isn't it, really? It's not really a political move at all.
Just to ask yourself, who is trying to push the idea of resetting?
Starmer tried to push it. It was one of his election pledges. They Gordon Brown write up that stupid wee pamphlet show.
Yeah.
They came to nothing.
Yeah.
That's right. The second chamber doing that road that's an elected assembly.
So who is taking Starmer's banner on that? Do you remember? We were talking about this the other day there. Starmer will go, yeah, we believe in this reset because Starmer said it. Starmer will stand there with that banner while Starmer walks away.
We don't care.
All right, okay.
The idea that there's a reset, what I'm asking about the old things is, Seoul Convention's back, big deal, how long is it going to take Labour to break it?
Right.
That's the only question, really.
We'll debate this off air and we'll come back with an answer, all right?
Right, anyway, finally, funny story to end the Scottish section. Farage goes to war with the Herald.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness me. That's this is quite something because you straight away you think to yourself, why? Under what circumstances would Farage end up going to war with the Herald? Seemingly, he came up to Aberdeen for a news conference, and I effectively sat there in front of all these different people from different newspapers, right? And it came out very, very quickly that he took the Herald to task over the fact that they had organised a group of people who were anti-racists and shouting against reform all the time whilst Farage was being interviewed, right? And eventually he said to the Herald, he said, "You bunch of swines, bunch of bastards. He said, how dare you do that?"
Well, he accused the Herald of telling us what it was going to be. Because apparently he keeps it secret where his press conference is going to be. He doesn't want protesters showing up. So he accused the reporter, the Herald, of telling the organisers of the protest that where his press conference was going to be.
So what does Farage expect happens when he's doing a news conference in like a hall in Aberdeen? What do you think would happen? Well, for a start, you would have the newspapers also. They all want column inches, don't they? They all want to be right about the latest thing that Farage said, right? And so all these people are going to make their way to this particular place where it was, right? You have people that are doing the protest. All they've got to do is watch out for where these people are going. They might not find out until on the day, but that's enough.
Oh, that's right. I mean, it was only 20 protesters for a UK-wide anti-racist organisation. And what they said was, actually, we were informants.
Yeah.
And they probably found out for Duncan Massey.
Yeah.
Because he would be attending that bloody conference along with Farage, because he just walked the floor.
Yeah.
So it's probably somebody in the council who's let them know, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody that maybe got a friend of their anti-racist group that works in the council or something. But the interesting thing about Farage is want to keep all these things secret. He doesn't want people showing up to ask him hard questions. You know. Kazzy, you were just on holiday, were you?
No bit.
I've just seen a wee comment there. So, Farage has a pop at the Herald has a pop at Farage. There's no enough of the papers taking a pop at Farage, is there?
As far as I'm concerned, he's talking about getting rid of Holyrood if he gets power, 2029. He's talking about doing away with tax paying for the NHS. My goodness me. Oh, but he did say he was going to reintroduce the winter payment for the pensioners. And he did say he was going to get rid of the two-child cap, you know, just to make him seem like a good guy.
Yeah, but how is he going to finance all that with his tax cuts?
Yeah, do you know, when I hear Farage, I don't know why, but I just hear the theme tune of Dad's Army coming. Who do you think you are getting, Mister? And that's Farage is singing that, you know. He's bonkers if he thinks people really support him, that think about what he's going to do.
Apparently, the Scottish Socialist Party are preparing a welcome for Farage in Hamilton.
Oh, good. I take it won't be a nice welcome party. It'll be a
milkshake. I hope somebody's got a milkshake. Farage famously likes a good milkshake.
Yeah, can you still get milkshakes at McDonald's?
Yeah, I don't know if he still gets milkshakes thrown at him. But let's move on, shall we? If Farage and the Herald go on to war.
Yeah.
The IFS says that next week's spending review will mean very tough choices for Rachel Reeves. Now, this spending review is supposed to go into every single pound the government spends and where it's spent. Now, what we're hearing from Whitehall is there's a bloodbath going on down there as ministers fight for scraps off the table. Now, apparently Labour have front-loaded all their spending into the first 2 years of the administration, to which there'll be a spending freeze towards the end of the administration, which is a strange way to do things, because normally you would do your tightening at the beginning and loosen off towards an election. So, according to the IFS, as of next year and going forward, there will be no year-on-year increase to ministries' budgets. So, huge cuts to public services and slash and burn of the number of civil servants in the civil service. But we knew that was coming with AI, David.
Yeah. The whole thing of the IFS is mentioned. Fair enough. Rachel Reeves has got it in her marks, in her crosshairs, to have a go benefits yet again. Have a go at PIP or disability living allowance once again. She will squeeze every bit of juice out of the people of the UK that she possibly can.
Well, we just heard Starmer on a 5 billion increase annually for defence spending.
It's coming.
But in the IFS's report, it says that in order to increase defence spending, cuts to the welfare budget and raids on the foreign aid budget again, as Starmer made clear today in his press conference here in Glasgow.
Yep.
Where he was announcing his shite. But now, what is the spending review going to cover, David? We may as well let people know what it covers, shall we?
Yeah, okay. I'll get it up.
I've got it here. Now, tough choices, and it covers spending plans at areas ranging from the NHS, defence to schools to the criminal justice system, and everything in between. So all the ministries. Now, where defence spending means cuts elsewhere, civil service to be is completely overmanned apparently, and they're going to get rid of 5 to 10,000 civil servants. And as I say, according to this, ministers are fighting like fuck who are scrapping the tables.
I'm not surprised because there's jobs that are involved. People that have worked there for maybe years are going to end up out in the rear. Some of that. You look at people that are looking to take them to a tribunal. I don't know if the number's still £50,000 you can win for winning a tribunal. But at the end of the day, they'll go 50 grand to get rid of such and such. Fine, I do it. Right, there we go. Right, don't worry about it. Not a problem. Right. The money for the defence spending. Shall we do defence spending now, David? Because you mentioned it. Shall we actually do it and get on with it?
You want to move on to the defence review? I mean, we've more or less covered what's going to happen next week at the spending review. There's going to be slaughter of public services.
Yeah.
Ian, you're saying as an SNP member, you've contacted them to help in campaigning in the Hamilton, Larkcote and Stonehouse by-election. Contact Anne in the comments. She's commented below you, Ian. She'll tell you where the gathering points are to go and do the canvassing. Anne's been out canvassing.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Aye.
Right, so let's just get on with that thing, the defence review, right?
The defence review, folks. What's in it?
UK to expand submarine programme in response to strategic defence review. It's a press release I'm reading, right? UK will build up to 12 new attack submarines to keep Britain safe. And don't forget, this was published literally hours ago. So, UK to build up to 12 attack submarines as part of the Australia-UK-US programme in response to rapidly increasing threats. Now, we were discussing this beforehand. We thought the Australia-UK-US submarine building programme was to take submarines, build them, and take it off of France, if you remember. They took the off of France and give them to Australia, right? So I'm now looking at this as a point of view of saying, are we actually producing anything? Are we producing anything that our lads and lasses can actually pull a trigger and fire on something? I don't think we can. I don't think that matters.
Well, Stanley today was talking about increasing the size of the vast military industrial complex.
Yeah.
6 new munitions factories. Maybe even one in Scotland.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But who's that to supply? Well, my mates in the rabbit holes around about is there all shouting, it's for Israel, it's for Israel. So there you go. Builds on 15 million investment set out the UK sovereign nuclear warhead programme, keeping the UK safe for generations to come and delivering on the plan for change. This plan for change, this is used over and over and over. This is politicking, guys. This is politicking.
There you go, you get to the Hamilton Hub every morning, 10 a.m. Just need to find out where the Hamilton Hub is.
Yeah. Just to explain a phrase that David and I used all the time we were reading this, they're pulling people's plonkers. They really are, right? The 15 billion investment set out for the UK sovereign nuclear warhead programme. That 15 billion will pay for riding a rocket of the Americans. Some was that.
Good afternoon, Sir Larry. I've been enjoying your series on people who have inhabited your house over the last wee while.
Did somebody take that fucking mouse off? Hi, Larry. How you doing? Nuclear investments will transform critical parts of the defence nuclear industry, directly supporting.
Thank you, Mr.
Skilled jobs up and down the country. and doubling of apprentice and graduate roles across the next 10 years. Now, when you actually look at that number, they've used a number, 30,000 over 10 years. What is that? It's 3,000 people
a year
employed over a period of 10 years.
Yep.
Right? Some of that, you know.
Let me address Mr. Rees' super chat here, David. What are they doing with the old contaminated submarines? They're leaving them to rot and recycling the fucking. They're on the Clyde. What do you think they're doing with them, Mr. Rees?
The only time they'll be dealt with is when Scotland takes its independence and we end up dealing with them. And I tell you what, seriously, I'm going to get some brave blokes with big ropes and seagoing tugs to get them down to Westminster and hitch them up against the Westminster dock. Something like that. And they can deal with it. They can very quickly do a debate to see whether they want such a thing as a nuclear deterrent.
Really, Charlie Cat needs a Facebook page. I'm not fucking not got enough time to deal with my football Facebook page.
David, we're busy discussing something that's very important.
Yes, aye.
Oh, okay. And you, what you're doing is breaking in. I know you're trying to
carry on, David. You carry on. I do apologise. I'm always trying to be polite to the audience.
Prime Minister will announce tomorrow that the UK's conventionally armed nuclear-powered submarine fleet will be significantly expanded with up to 12 new SSN, Australia, UK, US boats to be built. Now, forgive me for asking this question, right? But did that not get binned months back? Did the Australia, UK, US submarine deal not get thrown away months ago? Because I've got very, very clear memory of that happening.
I remember. I've got very, very clear memory of them stealing the contract to pay the French who were going to build the Australian nuclear power submarines.
Yeah.
And America and the UK said, right, we'll create a quango, we'll create a consortium between the three countries and we'll build them ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming that the money to tool up these yards and things like that must have come from there.
If that's the case, then that's a 12 that we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Right? So they're making it seem as if these are getting built for the UK to use, but in actual fact, these sound as if these are the ones that are going to be making their way down to Australia. Right? The increase in submarines will transform the UK's submarine building industry. That's important to form a sentence in that way, right? The increase in submarines will transform the UK's submarine building. And following the $15 billion investment in warhead programme outlined, will deliver on this government's plan for change. Now, as far as I'm concerned, at no point did they say the increase in submarines will transform the UK's defensive programme. Won't.
David, they've only got 9 submarines at the moment.
Yep.
So,
right. So next thing is supporting 30,000 highly skilled jobs up and down the country, well into the 2030s. Well into the 2030s.
That's because the fleet's not due to be launched until the end of the 2030s.
Okay, right. As well as helping work to deliver 30,000 apprenticeships. Are we talking the same people here?
How big a fucking shipyard operations are going to build for building submarines? Wait, they don't do one out every few months.
And 14,000 graduate roles across the next 10 years. Right?
And why the 14,000 graduates going to do?
This is
totally back up a fucking welder.
Right? The announcement comes as the government unveils its new strategic revenge review tomorrow. That was today. Right? The externally led review is expected to recommend that our armed forces move to warfighting readiness to deter the growing threats faced by the UK. The report makes 62 recommendations, which is the government is expected to accept in full. Now, fuck's sake, man. It's like the amount of time, when I read this the first time over, I went, this. I'm getting my plug pulled here, and I know
Well, David, I've actually got the copy of the Defence Review. It's 130 pages long.
Yeah.
I downloaded it earlier.
Yeah.
And I'll get into it. The one thing I did notice is none of the money to start this spending, the rise to 2.5 of GDP is to start until 2027.
Mm-hmm.
And we're contracting economy. You're not going to have any money to spend in fucking defence. Farmers took something today in Glasgow saying we need to be war ready, and we're going to get war ready.
This is a politicking excuse to take more money off the public. Seriously, that's all it is.
The vast military-industrial complex, aye.
Now, the government will make significant commitments to its armed forces and deliver greater security for working people throughout the government's plan for change. That includes a landmark shift in our deterrence and defence, moving to war-fighting readiness to deter threats and strengthen security in the Euro-Atlantic area, increasing stockpiles of munitions and support equipment, ensuring that production capabilities can rapidly scale up in response to crisis of war. What that means is we'll just make sure there's a few factories open and ready to take more orders as needed, right? The procurement of 7,000 UK-built long-range weapons for the UK Armed Forces, supporting around 800 defence jobs and boosting our military capabilities. We looked at that, didn't we? And it turns out it was Raytheon. Yeah. But that money's already spent. We're sending those missiles to Ukraine.
Yes.
Right. Next is a new cyber EM command to put the UK at the forefront of cyber operations, alongside $1 billion investment in pioneering digital capability. Already spent again. Yes.
Yes. David, see, before we move on, I want to remind something of what was said yesterday on the Sunday politics here in Scotland. Now, yesterday, the Defence Secretary John Healey was here, and you've just read out about bolstering the UK military.
Yep.
But when he was asked yesterday about an increase in personnel, he says, "No, we can't afford an increase in personnel now. It'll need to wait."
The really important number that we had here was that effectively it's going to give us 400,000 people. There we are. Already supporting more than 400,000 skilled British jobs. UK defence is a crucial engine for economic growth, delivering on the government's plan for change. Now then, that is pulling your plonker. Then David's going to tell you exactly why.
Am I? Fuck.
Yes.
I'll tell you why he's pulling your plonker, because all this spending's all projected into the late 30s, 2030s.
Yeah, but not only that,
already the new.
Not only that, how many people are actually in our armed forces?
Combined.
Air, sea, and land.
About 110,000.
So 110,000 being supported by
400,000.
400,000 skilled British jobs. Right, so some poor bastard's got to pull the trigger at some point, right? But
remember what, David, when he was talking about 400,000 jobs in the defence sector, that includes the vast military-industrial complex, not just people supplying the actual men and women in the military.
Yeah. Right, so supported by the government's historic uplift in defence spending to 2.5% of GDP from 2027. So they haven't even started. The uplift.
Oh, David, hold on. I forgot to differ. They started the first dreadnought submarine about 4 fucking years ago. It's nowhere near finished yet.
Yes, we know that. In actual fact, Rolls-Royce and the MOD have got severe headaches over that. And
that's right.
It's getting down to the point where they're starting to look at it and go, are we going to be able to build these things?
Well, I think it's a problem with Rolls-Royce's new mini reactor, isn't it, to get into the sub?
Yeah,
It
these
didn't
are
take
the mini, these are the mini reactors that Britain remade are hoping is going to be put in every street corner in
Aye, that's
Scotland,
the ones.
right? So I don't mind. I do mind actually. I do mind people actually getting in one of these submarines and it going bang somewhere. But what's worse than that is if one of these units is on the corner of my fucking estate and it goes bang, what's that going to do?
Oh, it's going to wipe you out.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, let's let's just remember
So
what
let's say can I sum
anyway,
up?
you've got. They're demanding to spend lots of money on nothing.
Exactly nothing.
Nothing.
That's why I said when Starmer was up making his announcement in Glasgow today, he was tub thumping because that's all it is. When you look into the spending review, or the defence review, sorry, they're not actually doing nothing that's not already underway.
Yeah. Currently, the UK is set to operate 7 Astute-class submarines, which will be replaced with an increased fleet of 12 SSN Australia, UK, US submarines from the late 2030s. The late 2030s. We're
Aye.
talking about it could be 2038.
Well, if it's 4 years at a time to build one fucking dreadnought submarine, it's going to be an awful long time before they're going to put their replacement the Vanguard.
We're talking about getting rid of all the problems with that first one. But then they're talking about building one dreadnought every 18 months. Aye, heard it.
I heard that. That's right. Anyway.
Pushed it to the SSN AU or Australia, UK, US programme. We'll see a major expansion of industrial capability at Barrow and Rainswear in Derby, with the build of a new submarine every 18 months in the future, as we said. The increase in capacity at the two sites will allow the UK to increase its fleet up to 12 attack boats as part of the Australia, UK, US partnership. So, in other words, what we're talking about there, we've changed the wording of that. Now it's down to 12 submarines. Are they shared? They're shared between Australia. Shared between Australia, US, and the UK. So, when do we get to go? When's the matter? To ensure the demand of this expanded programme can be met, government is working closely with industry partners to rapidly expand training and development opportunities, aiming to double defence and civil nuclear apprenticeships and graduate intakes. This will result in 30,000 apprenticeships, 14,000 graduate roles over the next 10 years. I keep saying that.
You have to keep saying that. Can we move on?
Yep. The SDR goals for
the munitions factories. That's the next. That's the other bit. Yeah, that's it done.
It's the UK Sovereign Warhead Programme, this Parliament, while maintaining the existing stockpile.
Aye.
So, any day, it's like.
So we'll cover the Navy. When we're coming back to cover the Army and the Air Force for the defence review.
Nothing. There's nothing. That's that you've heard.
I can assure you, it's
the press release.
The review itself is 130 pages long. There's a section on the Air Force and the Army as well. You just haven't got it there. Now for the Army and the Air Force are going to be heavily equipped by a ground-to-air missiles and drones, and they're going to build 6 new munitions factories in the UK somewhere.
Yeah.
With John Healy quite hinting yesterday that there might be another one located in Scotland. We already have one where it will arrive.
Well, the only press release that's available is this one from gov.uk.
Aye.
That is the press release.
I know you're going to have to download. You're going to have to download the full document now to get to the Army and the Air Force. I haven't had a chance to read the Army and Air Force yet. I'm only skimmed the appendix.
Yes.
So for the Army, it's going to be 30 ground-to-air missiles, and for the RAF, it's going to be drones.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's all pie in the sky, folks.
Yeah.
It's all projected future spending and nothing for today.
Yeah.
And the spending review that comes out next week on the 11th, that'll really let us know how much pie in the sky the defence review is. Okay.
Isn't this becoming the song that Labour go with all the time? Oh, we're going to do such and such.
What they're doing is a Donald Trump.
When's it going to
Everybody be information?
well, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years away, right? When Rachel Reeves talked about the adding the extra runway to Heathrow, right? When was she talking about doing that? That was like 10, 15 years away, something like that, wasn't it? Right. So it seems to me
they're making a lot of announcements for things to happen in the future and no now.
That's right.
So it's all pie in the sky, folks. You've been fed a lot of bollocks.
At that point, they'll go, when they're asked by, oh, didn't you make an announcement that you were going to do such and such? Oh, we changed our minds.
Aye, quietly, they'll say nothing. But what they're doing, folks, at this point in time, Labour are announcing so many fucking things. And when you look into the detail, none of it's actually happening at all. Projected time in the future, when asked how he was going to fund all this, or the best way to fund us all with economic growth, but he has said he'll raid benefits and he'll raid the foreign aid budget to do it. That's always decent of you.
To make things rather rough and ready, right? Unless they're going to have the British Armed Forces doing a bit of rape and pillage, right? Then there's no way that any part of that funding can be paid for by what this produces. The only way you can do it is by if you produce rockets, missiles, weapons, and you sell them abroad to other countries. At that point, then you've got business coming in. That's trade. That's called. Yeah.
You couldn't get the slider to go to 10 hands, so you got to go to 9.99. Thanks very much. Right, let's move on. Reform councillors have announced that in the 10 councils that they are now in charge of in England, they will be carrying out a Musk-style audits of all 10 of their councils. What do you make of that?
Well, you're not going to get these new councillors who haven't got a Scooby as to what makes it. Oh, what's a council? What's a council? Oh, they do the lights, they do the roads. Oh, do they? Do they? Whereabouts do I find that? Right? And seriously, you've got these people that are absolute numpties walking into the councils, and you're going to ask them to do an audit of their finances? No. If you want to do an audit of somebody's finances, then you get in an accountant.
Thanks, Cindy Scott Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Cindy Scott Ryan. Thank you. So, it ain't going to happen. I mean, what they could do is they could get Elon Musk to come across. He could bribe
what's going to happen, David? If they're going to give an audit to the council, you know fine well, they don't have the expertise themselves, they don't have the expertise within the council. They're going to have to hire in somebody like KPMG.
That's right.
To do a forensic audit of the books. And as the councils are already skint, they won't be doing that. KPMG don't come cheap.
Well, KPMG is like, to be honest with you, I don't trust anybody in that position, right? I do not trust KPMG because I've seen too many wind-ups of companies in Scotland to trust KPMG. However, I'm not going to openly and blatantly accuse them of anything. I'm just going to say, buyer beware.
Yep. Now, let's move on. The Tories want prison officers armed with tasers. What do you think?
We had a good laugh with this one. I was wondering, you can imagine all these prisoners walking about like I was a pack of fags.
Aye. Increased amount of deaths due to heart attack in fucking prisons is the answer to that one.
Officer Wilson, why is it your taser needs charging twice a day? Oh, I don't know, it must be faulty.
Anyway, so apparently Tories don't get tasered but they want to give tasers out.
All I can say to lads that are in prisons, be on your best behaviour because you don't want to get tasered.
Hold on, Phil McCracken's got sent us on the super chat. We need to thank the Frog Princess and his company, Deform Limited. He is set to do more for independence than the Tories and Bojo Johnson. You could be right, Phil.
Could be right.
Could be right. Thanks very much for the donation, dear boy.
Yeah.
And there'll be another couple of wee videos coming up, I think, as I just batter out and see these places. Yeah. Because getting the buggers on the phone is pretty difficult, so I might just walk in off the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what do you might call it? And the last one I want to talk about for 2 minutes, David. I mean 2 minutes because it's 5 to 5, and we'll get the wind up today. Trump's in and out cat tariff dance with the courts. What do you reckon?
Dance with the what?
The courts in America.
Oh, right. I haven't read much on Trump. I've been staying away from it. But to be honest with you, it's like, is this regarding the tariffs that he's imposed?
What happened was the Court of International Trade in America told him chuck it because of the actions being taken by the World Trade Organization. They ruled it was illegal. And then he went along to another court to have it ruled that it was legal for him to put the tariffs on. So, and the interpretation of the Court of International Trade was that he'd misused the Emergency Powers Act in order to be able to do that. And the next court along says, no, he didn't misuse the Emergency Powers Act. So we've had tariffs in, tariffs out, a bit like the okey pokey, you know what I mean? But the fucking mayhem and madness carries on.
Right. I could see that happening in England and Scotland, where England have got the Supreme Court, Scotland have got the Court of Session, right? And if we could get the ones fired up in this Court of Session to actually take on what the Supreme Court have said, we could end up whereby we've got something as said in the Supreme Court and the Court of Session says something exactly opposite. But Trump is trying to use that in his own country because he has put certain people in place in their Supreme Court.
That's right, aye. So he's hoping to get it.
That is a ridiculous situation.
You know, of course, his big beautiful bill gives him the power, executive power, to defund federal investigations, even into him.
That's right. So that, believe it or not, there's a name for that. It's called fascism.
It's also called corruption.
It's called fascism.
Aye, and it's also sort of null and void in the American Constitution, his big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
You know, because it gives all sorts of executive powers to him that he shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's right.
And as we know, the way they're set up.
We've got a similar thing in this country and Scotland because we're still ruled by Westminster. They've got a thing called SI, statutory instruments, right? Where they don't have to put anything in front of the other MPs, put it to the vote. It can just be where the Cabinet Office go, right, we're going to kill the firstborn of everybody born in England, right? Something like that. And that, okay, it's extreme, right? But it gives you the idea that that instrument can be passed without any form of democracy whatsoever. Trump has effectively done the same, but the American president has had that, abused that system since Barack Obama was there.
That's correct.
He's the first president. He passed 400 presidential, whatever they call
executive orders.
Executive orders. 400 executive orders during his presidency. And it looks like that's going to be knocked into a cocked hat by Mr. Trump.
Oh, he's probably done that in the first 100 days, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Right, it's still fucking madness and mayhem in America. Right.
Look at the people that attacked the Capitol Hill, right? Caused severe damage. Basically, it was a rebellion within America, right? And what's he do when he gets in? The first day he got in, he got them all released from prison. End of story.
Yep. And just to round off with a wee bit of news in Gaza, Red Cross say at least 21 killed and dozens shot in Gaza aid incident. The Israeli troops have started shooting lines of people lining up desperately for food at a UN AIDS centre, and the Israeli soldiers are taking fucking pot shots at them. Not great, and things are not going well for Ukraine either. So that's it for this week, for the new. That's it until Thursday, David. Right. I'll see you writing off Wednesday morning if you're out your bed. We'll have a wee natter about the front pages. And I'll see you.
I'm trying to say as a grumpy old git when he stays in his bed all day.
Generally, aye.
A grumpy old gits are up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Don't you know that?
Jim's telling us that 220 were injured too last night.
Oh.
Fuck. Anyway,
I'm sorry, guys, but I find it difficult to even think of such a thing. I just can't. It takes me back to every nasty Nazi type film that I've seen, where they actually take people from a township, line them up against the wall, and shoot them all. Right? That same thing's happening here.
Yep. Now, David, we're going to have to knock it in the head there because of the time.
Yeah.
Folks, thanks very much for joining us today in such great numbers. 170 odd yous watching at the moment. 172 yous watching at the moment. Fantastic numbers as usual, David. I mean, and on Facebook especially, David, the viewing figures are rocketing on Facebook.
Right.
So they are.
Well, tomorrow, I'll expect you to be on the phone, ready and willing to debate what we were talking about earlier on. All right, and we will come up
into one of these rooms and we'll just stay
there's a lot of times we disagree in things.
Yes.
Generally off camera, right? And we come to some kind of agreement, if you like, that somewhere.
I don't fucking argue about it anymore.
It's near the truth what we come to, right? And it's something we should do. All right. So beware.
And Mr. E says it doesn't matter when you go to your bed, Milligan. Grumpy last all day. Right, folks, and says thanks for watching. Huge numbers today watching live, David. It was up in the 180s at one point, late 80s, 180. Fucking fantastic viewing numbers. You guys really do make it worthwhile. All right, well, I've got work to go to.
Thanks
guys.
To
the moderators for moderating. Thanks to all you people for your super chats. Thanks, David, for no being too grumpy the fucking day. You know, remember, folks, this is violation if you live in Hamilton.
My best pal, he really is. Honestly, we take lumps at each other, but it's great.
Well, we'll date tomorrow, okay, because I've got to get to fucking work. And if you're voting in this by-election this week, folks, vote SNP. Bye for now.